to keep interested in my own music, I will change instruments. Sometimes the low sounds have, well, the low sound world has something very special as it relates to the register. And this is also true for every instrument. And so I'm not sure if I understand exactly what you're saying, but I see all of this as part of the materials available that can be used. And from that point, it's still, in the end, each artist has to make a decision about what constitutes identity, what constitutes aesthetic, what feeling is going to be brought to anything, and how to integrate that. I try to have as much flexibility as possible in the improvisational musics. In the structural musics, well, once it's written, it's written. But I try to approach the structure space musics from different systems of organization. But I don't think I'm answering your question. But, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Question? Yes, sir.
In any kind of communication, there's a transmitter and a receiver. Is your music received and understood completely or correctly?
I feel very grateful to have a chance to play music, and even when someone hates the music, they could not hate it if it didn't exist. And for me, that's important. In America, there are many composers, for instance, who say, "Oh, I will not write this opera unless I get a grant. They must give me some money or I'm not going to do it." And then after 30 years, it's never been done, and everyone's upset. For me, I want to do my music, and if it's hated, well, I would prefer for it to be liked. But even if it's hated, I accept it. At least I'm doing something that I really care about. And I have come to understand through my experiences that it would not be be consistent with my experiences to hope that everybody would understand the music. Rather, I feel grateful to have a chance to be able to play. Anyone who has found music is very lucky. I feel that music is one of the greatest disciplines that the Creator has given us. And should someone hate your music, how lucky you are to be a musician for someone to even hate your music.
But it was not a question of creating a sensation. Is the message understood? I mean, it carries a message.
It depends. 80% of the jazz writers in America, whenever they write about the post-Eiler musics, I go crazy because there's so much wrong information. They talk about the music in a way that, for me, sometimes I can't believe it. But this is how the planet is. People are like looking at things in different ways. Even now, the work of Arnold Schoenberg is not really understood, in my opinion. We talk of Webern. I love Anton Webern. But I do feel that the work of Arnold Schoenberg really opened the door to the post-modern era. And but even now, I pick up the New York Times. Schoenberg is dead, and some guy would write an article about Schoenberg, who has been dead now for 30 years, even now there are articles putting down Schoenberg. And so, and yet at the same time, there are positive sources of information that one can go to as well. And that might be the best we can hope for, or at least I can hope for.
Maybe people don't want to understand Schoenberg. He's written thousands of essays or so.
I know. Wynton Marsalis, a couple of days ago on TV in America, said, "Oh, avant-garde jazz, nobody listens to that anyway." He's right. Plus, it's okay. We keep doing our work. You do your work, or if the fact that no one listens to it disturbs you, then stop. But if you do your work for yourself, you do your work. And maybe one day the people might like it, and maybe I will hate it. Miss, you had a question?
Do you think perfect pitch is essential to really understand music or make music?
Very good question. Thank you. I think perfect pitch is not perfect. I think the whole idea of perfect pitch is a limitation. I think many of the structures which have been built up over perfect pitch has in fact participated in, well, for something like 200 years, trans-European musics have wiped away microtonal relationships based on false perception of perfect pitch. I would also say that I think there are many different pitches where C is, or Do. There are many different Do's, not just one Do. Do is a zone of sound, not one sound, not tuning to A. In fact, the Do in America and the Do in continental Europe is different. And so for me, the idea of perfect pitch, well, let me be careful here. For those men and women, those individuals who value perfect pitch, I say, hooray, all respect. For myself, I don't want perfect pitch. I keep away from that because I'm interested. Too often, the concept of perfect pitch is used to say, that A went to that B, went there. But in fact, in real listening, it doesn't even work like that. When something happens, everyone hears something different anyway. And for me, the concept of perfect pitch is a way to narrow a person's choice as opposed to the total sound spectrum. And it is for that reason that I've always been suspicious of perfect pitch, especially since the professors like to feel superior. And they say, and they talk about perfect pitch in a way that is not healthy, I feel. Although, of course, ear training is important, but ear training is not just the note. I mean, the actual sound is only 2/3 of what happens. When a sound happens, it's not just one strata of vibrations. There are other vibrations happening inside and all around that sound. Perfect pitch, as it is used in academia, tends to narrow the sonic perceptive lanes of recognition, and in its place we have this note. But my experiences have shown me that that note is only just one part of what happens when you hear a sound. And that's why I am suspicious of perfect pitch. I tell my students, Work, 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 work to get better pitch. Work to get better perfect pitch. At the same time, don't be fooled. Learn how to hear. One of the most surprising things for me when I went into academia, and this is true even now, I am surprised at how little the students listen to music. Even the music students. They play Beethoven. Listen to it 3 times. They say, I know that piece. They put on Charlie Parker playing All the Things You Are. They listen to the solo 3 or 4 times. I know that solo. Wow, that's really interesting. Because when I played the solos, I played 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 times, 600 times. Slow it down 700 times. 8. Relax with it. Let it just flow around. Check out particular parts of it. Just slow the speed up. Play it backwards if you have to. I think one of the challenges in education in the next time period is to teach the students how to listen. And of course, the professors must continue to work to keep learning. There's nothing worse than a professor who thinks he has all the answers. We need professors who are professional students of music, as opposed to, I've got the information, I'm going to stop, and now I will tell you what to think. This, to me, is not healthy. Yes, ma'am.
How do you get yourself into your concentration modes? Like, you also play chess, also, I believe. That takes a lot of concentration, too, and composing. How do you get yourself into that mode, and when do you, are there certain times of the day, or certain, it's just kind of more of a...
A very good question. Thank you again. For me, this has become complex. Before becoming part of academia, I used to wake up at 3 in the morning, go to my workplace, and work till 7 at night. Well, I'd stop for an hour for lunch. And then I'd have me a wine and go, I'm okay. But after joining academia, it's impossible to work and teach and then go back and write a piece of music and get what I want. And so your question has real significance to me, because what I have arrived at this point is I do my classes, but I need to have like a day or 2 or something to push everything back. Let me divert for a second. In this time period, as we move towards the new millennia, we have internet. We have all kind of different connections on the computer, and so we have email. And my colleagues come in, and we have to spend 3 and 4 hours a day going through messages. We are confusing, in my opinion, we're confusing information with wisdom or learning. As far as I'm concerned, too much information is almost as bad as not enough information. And I don't know, this will probably be something that future generations will have to work out. For myself, I spend a great deal of time blocking information, not answering the telephone. Get the telephone machine, push it back so that there's not too much always happening. I have to have things where I can relax, take a moment, and then I can begin to think. It's the same with playing music. I like to have a moment